Let's continue our discussion on communication while I have you all still here. In my previous video, I was talking about why I'm not such a big fan of over-communicating in the dating phase and the emphasis that is put on, particularly women having to communicate their needs and tell men exactly what they're looking for, what they want. It's very important to understand that I personally think there's a distinction between dating and being in a serious relationship. When you're in a serious and committed relationship, of course, there are going to be times where, communicating your needs and your feelings is going to be important. I do still believe that too much emphasis is placed on communicating and how you communicate, as if the right form of communication will just solve all of your problems. But appropriate and healthy communication is, of course, very important. That being said, when we're talking about things like expectations in the future, you absolutely cannot take a man at his word. And that is not to criticize men, okay, because women, we do this as well, okay? How many mothers out there had all these ideas about what they would do when they had children? I'm never going to feed them sugar. They're never going to be on their iPads, right? Okay. And then you have children. What happens? You give them candy, an iPad, and then you go hide in your closet, hypothetically speaking, that is. The point I'm trying to make is that we all project this kind of idealized version of ourselves into the future and like what we're going to do. So let's use your example here. So if you do not like cooking and you would like to express to your partner that you would like for them to take on more of the cooking responsibilities in a marriage, that's a good conversation to have, okay? But just because he says yes, 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 and nods and says all the right things, that is not the end of the sort of discussion, let's say. You need to look at his actions, okay? Do his actions align with what he is saying? So has he demonstrated an ability to cook? Is he in the habit of cooking for himself? Does he meal plan and meal prep? Does he invite you over and cook for you regularly? Do you see what I'm saying? If he is not demonstrating with his actions that he is both willing and able to do the thing that you are wanting him to do, then do not project into the future this idea that he will do it because he says that he will do it. Because I think a lot of women do this. They talk about what their expectations are when they get married, when they have children, what it will look like, how they will share the load and the domestic duties, and they, communicate their needs and their expectations, and their partner just kind of nods and smiles and says all the right things, right? Okay, but then when it actually happens, it doesn't actually pan out the way that they had discussed. And then the problem is they get told that they just need to communicate more. They need to tell them how it makes them feel when they do these things, and then they need to find different ways of communicating. And then they go to therapy and they communicate even more. And then they work on communicating and communicating and communicating, but nothing changes. I really think that an element of if he wanted to, he would, should carry through the entire relationship. You should not need to say more than, I don't like cooking. I've never liked it and I don't want to do it, to get your point across. If you need to say anything more than that in order to get him to cook, he does not want to cook. And you know what? Fair enough. He doesn't need to want to cook. But explaining it 20 different ways isn't going to make him want to cook anymore. But oftentimes they won't actually say with their words, right? They won't actually come out and just say, I don't want to cook. Stop telling me to cook. I don't want to cook and I'm not going to do it. But they'll show you with their actions. And that is why I say that if his words and his actions do not align, believe his action. If his actions are telling you that he doesn't want to cook, that he doesn't want to clean, that he doesn't want to actually participate equally in the household duties, then believe those actions. That is the truth. It doesn't matter what words come out of his mouth about how he'll try harder, about how he just needs a list, about how, he just doesn't understand, about how it's all too confusing. No. none of that is true. His actions tell you the truth. If he really wanted to do it, he would do it. And before anybody asks, yes, I am wearing Harry Potter pajamas. And yes, I am in Ravenclaw, obviously. And make sure you go find me on YouTube, because should any of you American friends lose access to this app, I will start making all of my posts available over there. Okay, now I'm gonna go get ready for bed.